Hola! Welcome to day 3014 of How to Write a Solo Show Slam. We're having some tech difficulties, so I'm just going to make sure everybody has the proper link. And while we're waiting for folks to get on, if you could type your questions in the bottom, in the comments page, I will answer them. We've got some great questions from Antoinette and from Soyini. So we're going to address those as soon as I let everybody know that we're here and share the link and, all that exciting stuff. So yesterday we talked a little bit about when you have so much material, where do you start, right? You have monologues, but you don't know which one to focus on first. And my answer was, and that was Lady Robin's question, is take the guesswork out of it and just randomly pick one and focus on it and see where that takes you until you put your focus on one and then put that one monologue through the rigorous exercises that I'm giving you, which are really fun. You're not really going to know what the story is, right? So writing is less about, I'm going to plan on writing this, and much more about, oh, well, let me just go. Okay? So the fact of the matter is, when we talked, the two exercises that we came up with were basically, day one was to do the journaling. And then yesterday we talked about recording your story and telling someone that story, right? Not the details of the story, but simply what you want to write, and then write that down. Okay? And then yesterday I said, okay, that was the homework for the day before. Now I want you to pick one character and let them start talking. Hey! Yay! Chris wrote 10 lines on your way home. Wow! That's it! Writer's right. That's it. I'm so excited for you. That is so amazing. Yes, writer's right. That's how scripts get written. Hi, Mary. Scripts get written one line at a time, one day at a time. If there's only one line, that's all that matters. I love Chris's emoji. So you get tip. Yes, writing is no joke. Okay, you gotta come for it. And all you gotta do is come to the page. That's it. You don't have to get it right. I'll tell you what Stephen McKinley Henderson always says to me. Don't get it right, get it true. What you are feeling in this moment is the truth of the moment. And that's all writing are. All writing is a series of tiny moments that happen one right after the other. And you just watch them and write down what you see. When you treat writing like that, like I'm just a recorder of the events going on in my life, well, then a completely different thing happens. Like completely. You take the pressure off of yourself. You take this good girl always having to get it right and edit it and worry about typos. I have typos all the time. If my typos are going to stop you from reading, then you don't need to read my brilliance anyway. My brain is moving too fast to worry about being an editor. I'm a writer, not an editor. When people pay me to write, they edit it. That's their job. Mine is to be a genius and come up with the story and the idea and commit to staying on the page for 500 pages to get it written. That's my job. Okay? That's your job as the writer, to tell the story. And if you get hung up on being correct, on being perfect syntax, on being interesting, on being a page turner, if you focus on all this stuff that has nothing to do with writing and everything to do with scaring you into not writing, then you'll never write. Writing isn't about getting it right. That's like being like, well, okay, I want to be an Olympic decathlon runner, but if I can't run the whole decathlon today, there's no point in me trying. How are you going to get to the decathlon if you don't run up the block today for a couple of weeks, and then run like 3 more blocks in a couple more weeks, and then run 5 more blocks in a couple more weeks? You think you're just going to run out there and you can do Ironman tomorrow? Like, you work your way up to it. Right? We get so hung up on looking at people's final results, which is all people post on social media. People post the final results. They don't post all the work that you had to do to get there. And that's my attempt in my coaching process and in my marketing process, is to demystify it for you. It's actually not about April sat down, she was so deep today. Like, or, my clients whose videos you've seen, Cajardo, who's, right, he came to me with a solo show and now has a screenplay, is shooting it this summer. It didn't come to me going, and then this blackface film looking like that. I was like, no, it became a film and a feature a year later. But what happened with the retreat that he signed up for is he wrote 15 amazing pages in one weekend. And then he came and he coached with me and he rewrote those 15 pages. And then he coached with me some more. And then he wrote 3 rewrites, right? And then he coached with me some more. And then he worked another character stuff out and then wrote another 50 pages. It happened by writing every day. And he's a full-time dad. He has 2 kids. He has a law practice. He does theater at night. He's married. He's a dad, a husband. Like, he has a lot going on. If he got so hung up on it being, it needs to be great right now, it never would have been written. And it's a story of a lifetime. That's how things get written. My first script took me 4 years to write because I didn't know how to write. So I was just wandering around every day trying to figure it out. And you know where I wrote? In my morning pages. Every day I came to the morning pages. And I didn't worry about what I wrote. I didn't read it. I didn't. This is like, if you don't remember anything else from these 14 days with me, remember that. Okay? Wait, I think I have some questions. The thing that you need to remember is don't get it perfect. Get it done. That's it. Get it done. That's it. Come to the page and play. That's it. That's it. That's all you have to do. Okay? So yesterday, our exercise was you already talking to the recorder about the story you wanted to write. Then you had to take one character that you mentioned and tell the same story from their point of view and record it. And then tell that same story in another character's mouth and have them record it. Right? So by now you should have 3 recordings. Hi, Rasvier. Oh, that's a beautiful name. Thank you for joining. Yes, you start exactly where you are. Right where you are is more than enough. Right where you are is totally amazing. Right where you are is it's why you're here. Okay? And all writing is writing out the story of your life. So, does anybody have any thoughts about how it went? Do you want to talk about it? Or do you have questions about when you did these exercises? What happened? How'd it go? Anybody? Got a quandary about it? Got the stress about it? Need me to walk you through something? Talk to me. I'm listening. So I'm gonna look for some comments down there. Okay, give people enough time to get in here. Okay. No questions so far? All right. So now that you have these 2 recorded monologues, okay, of these people talking about this story, I want you to transcribe them. I don't want you to edit them. I just want you to either give it to a friend and say, listen, will you listen to this and just type what you see and have them put it in a couple of paragraphs? That's it. Just transcribe it. That's your raw text. Now remember, I promised you, you would, if you did all these exercises, you have a good 20 pages written by the time that we are done with this 14-day slam. So tonight you're going to transcribe, right? So to answer Soyini's question of how do you make dialogue interesting? Well, you just write. See, the problem there is, how do I make dialogue interesting? You're not asking, how do I write? See, you're presenting a problem and you're putting that problem in front of writing. You make dialogue interesting by writing. It's actually that simple. If you do the exercise and you talk as the characters with their point of view, then that brings interest because now it's a real person with a strong emotional attachment to their point of view, right? And the first time you write it, it may or may not be interesting. The first time I recorded things, they weren't interesting. But I tell you what, after I wrote 6 months of morning pages about the story I wanted to write, when I finally picked up the recorder, the first 2 or 3 monologues of my show came out of my mouth perfectly. because I had been writing in the morning pages for days and months and years. I had been interviewing my family and listening to the way that they talk and the way that they tell story and the way that they form their opinions. I learned how to listen, which is, if you don't remember anything else, it's the single most important thing that you need to know. Just learn how to listen. That's it. Learn how to listen. That's it. Learn. I'm gonna say that again. Learn how to listen. That's it. Period. End of conversation. Okay? And that's what talking into this recorder is about. So, like, all of the questions that folks are sending me, if you were more intent on doing the exercises that I'm giving you, then you wouldn't have these questions, because you wouldn't be worried about being interesting. You'd be writing. And that's how it gets interesting, by writing, by trying things out, by writing, and then letting somebody transcribe it for you, by writing and letting somebody read it out loud for you. But before you can do any of this, I'm gonna be interested in what I'm gonna be about, you have to write. That's how it gets interesting. You come to the page every day for 3 pages, and every exercise that I've given you so far is essentially 3 pages of writing longhand. So if you're doing 3 pages of writing longhand after 14 days, that's a lot of writing. Even the recording exercises I'm giving you, they will create 3 pages of raw content. And guess what? The more you do it every day for 10 or 15 minutes, the better you will become as a storyteller. So my answer is always the same. Where would I begin and how is it creative? Do the exercises I'm giving you and write. And remember, the biggest lesson from yesterday is writing or talking into a recorder and talking as if you were talking to somebody that you know really well is writing. Do not let anybody ever tell you that you talking into a recorder is not real writing, because that's bullshit. That is your voice. Editors go back and check proofing errors and deal with structure. That's not writing, that's editing. Writers tell story. They give you a protagonist. They give you a conflict. They give you a resolution, right? They create emotional stakes. That's what writers and storytellers do. So your recording is story. When I first started writing, I had a lot of people trying to tell me that talking to a recorder wasn't really writing. Of course, these were all published writers. And I was like, Mark Twain had a secretary and he talked to let her record many of his books. So you mean to tell me because he was recording them, that's not writing? That's how I create character. That's a technique that I'm going to teach. Okay. Now I will say that a oral tradition all by itself isn't of a lot of use to you, but if you team that up with learning how to transcribe or hiring somebody to transcribe, it will sort itself out, right? Like, oh, Grace. So you want to write about your uncles? You're asking me about, if you want to write about your uncles, go listen to them and write down what you hear. See, don't put all these steps in front. Well, how should I interview them? I said, first of all, I want you to go and listen to them. And ask them if they feel okay if you take out a notepad. If they don't feel okay, then that, you know what that means? That you have to do the most intense writing ever, which is sit down and listen to them and remember what they're saying. Stop them every 5 minutes and go, okay, so what you just said is they did this and this and this and this and this. Really? And you can record yourself restating back what you heard if you want to. But if you really learn how to listen, all your writing is done. I have never recorded any of my family members. They don't believe in, recording their spirit. But I can channel them because I learned how to go home, go still, and truly listen. to remove the filter that April has in front of her face and listen. And then as soon as I would leave them, I would just go and write down what I heard, or I would go sit in my car in front of my aunt's house, turn on my phone and go, you know what she said? And then she said such, 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 and then such, such, and then she went to bed, and then she went to the store, and then she said this, and then she said that. And then I would call my father, and I would be like, Dad, do you remember that story? Oh yeah, I remember when he was down at the store. Well, what do you remember? And then I would listen to him. I learned how to listen. That's all good writing is. It's to learn how to sit still and really listen to somebody. And you know that you're really listening after a few minutes if you can repeat back to them what it is that they just told you. So you mean to tell me, because this is a great story, for example, when I was researching my play Good Bright Alley, it's about this hurricane in 1926 Miami. It's like, it was a category 5 that came out of nowhere. They'd never had anything like it. Can you imagine in 1926 a category 5 hurricane? Okay, so you know they were not prepared. Okay, and so it like wiped out South Florida, and the only thing that was left was Colored Town, which was really called Nigger Town. I learned that by going and sitting on the stoop and just listening to people in the neighborhood. And then I heard a story. All of the houses there were built on stilts. Well, I read that in the archives, so I went and go ask some old people to live down there. And I was like, did your grandmother still live over there? Oh yeah, she still lives over there. Oh no, she moved out to here. Go listen to her talk. And I heard this amazing story. So the hurricane came. Nobody knew the hurricane was coming. All these houses in Colored Town, which is now downtown Miami, were supposed to be temporary housing. So they were on cement, cedar blocks. They were just little wood shacks on top of blocks. And the hurricane came, and people who didn't have like a real house, people was living in, lean-tos on the street, ran to the people's houses who actually had houses on top of these cinder blocks. Or like if you go to Key West and you see those houses on stilts so that the water can go underneath. Okay, that's basically what all the Black people were living in. They were little shacks. They called them shotgun houses. The shotgun houses you see in New Orleans, the only thing was these shotgun houses weren't really built into the the ground. They were sitting on cinder blocks or wood, and like they weren't really built into the landscape of the city. So of course, when the hurricane came, it blew them down. And then one house in particular, where this little family ran down the street to go into these people's houses and lock the doors. When the hurricane was over, that house that had been on one side of the block ended up 2 streets over in place with the people inside of it. It floated away. I was like, somebody's making that up. Somebody making that up. They're making that up. So I went and I started asking people who lived there. I was like, I'm gonna go to this neighborhood. Somebody knows somebody. It's a great-great-grandmother. And I went and I sat and I listened. And I heard the same story like 3 different times. I was like, so the house just moved. Did it fly? Did it float? It was like, nobody knows. All they know is when the eye of the storm came and people went outside, and the house was 2 blocks farther, and everybody inside was fine. I was like, nah, somebody's making this up. And then I went to and asked a historian, and he was like, that's not made up. It's in the book. I was like, what book? He's like, the book I wrote about the history of Miami. And he said, don't play with oral tradition, recorded story. If you are now our archivist, it's your job to listen to recorded story and make it real and trust that the oral stories that are being given to you are real. Because they're coming from an emotional point of view of somebody who lived through it, right? Write it down. I could have just stayed with the 2 or 3 old ladies I asked. They were like, yeah, it just blew down the street. They were fine. Learn how to listen. Internet. If you want to write about them, they talk, they don't talk. See, this is a big thing. I'm going to say it one more time. If people say, I want to write about my 83-year uncles, then write. Sit down and do the exercise I gave you. Write. That's all there is to it. Describe it, explain it, and then go call them on the phone, listen to them. That's it. If one talks, if you close your mouth long enough and tell somebody you're listening, they'll start talking. So you're asking me what you want to do without having tried it. Just call them on the phone and talk to them. Ask them how they're doing. It's actually so simple. Antoinette, you're one of my clients. Every time I talk to you, you have a story coming out of your mouth. Every single time. You're just not aware of it. Learn to sit and listen to yourself record it and listen to others. That's all I got for you today. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Folks seem to be having a weird time jumping on with FB Live, and I tried to find the link. I'm not sure what's going on. Here's all you got to know. If you come to the Badass Actors and Writers page every single day, okay, at the top of the page, there will be a video that is live of me talking. It'll say, watch this live. Click the link and start watching. It's actually just that simple. Scroll down the page and look for the post that says live. Most of the time it's pinned to the top, but the way that these Facebook pages open is that there might be photographs on top. Just scroll down to the first post. It's always going to be there. Voila. I will post the first class so that if anybody missed it, you can watch it, but the rest of these classes end as soon as the video ends. So that's all I got, y'all. Anybody else got questions? Right? Great. So, I don't understand. It doesn't come right away. It's on a delay. I'm not sure what that means, Antoinette, but if you could explain more, I'll address it in tomorrow's. Yeah, you just turn on the recorder and record. Don't overthink this. Everybody's overthinking it. I've told you 6 stories in this video. Just turn on your recorder every time you want to open your mouth and record. When I do retreats, I don't let people talk unless they're recording. So that you understand, every time you open your mouth, you're writing a story. I leave you with that today. Every time you open your mouth, you're writing a story. Bye, y'all. I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, same bat channel.